Welcome to Horry County Community Calendar. I'm your host and fellow Horry County and Herb Malsman. We are sitting on Beach Place on North Ocean Boulevard. It has been raining all day. The day is Wednesday, December 2nd, 2009. I was hoping for some rain on the roof to give you an idea, but it could happen because there was a deluge or a downpour just a few months ago. We are sitting with Russell Cavender, and Russell Cavender is better known, I guess, by van and by a reputation as the Snake Chaser. And I see your van coming past back and forth. I said, well, who is it? And you're never traveling fast, so you're not chasing anything. Tell us who you are, Russell.
Well, speaking of the van, I have 257,000 miles on this thing in about 7 years. So yes, I do get around. But I am the Snake Chaser, and it's my passion to help people with animals, especially snakes and alligators. Those are my favorite. But I'll catch anything from moles to honeybees, squirrels. I've got a flying squirrel in the back of the truck. You name it, I pretty much can solve any problem you have.
How did you come to this Snake Chaser? Is it something you, as a child, just said, I want to do this? I mean, it's got to be something natural to you. I mean, it's an unusual occupation. And where are you from, anyway, as well?
Well, I'm from here, Myrtle Beach. I wasn't born here. I was born in Camp Lejeune. My father was in the Marine Corps. But yeah, I've been here all my life, and I caught my first snake right over off 10th Avenue, right where the WRNN radio station is, as a matter of fact. It's probably about 4 years old. It was a green snake, and ever since I can remember, I've always had a passion for animals of some kind or another. Snakes being the most prevalent. I caught my first rattlesnake back in the same area there, about 7.5, 8 years old. So, I've always had a passion. My mother was an animal control officer. My father was an avid, trapper and hunter. They were separated, so I lived in with two different places. But I just always wanted to do something with animals, and everyone told me I had a knack with them. I mean, I have a couple of pet deer that I've raised or orphaned. So what I did, I just decided one day, I'm tired of working for other people. I know I can do something. I came up with this idea. I spent a lot of time doing odds and ends, other jobs, cutting grass, painting, cleaning pools, and started this as a part-time job, and now it's completely full-time, and I love it.
So you caught your first snake right on 10th Avenue, Joe White Avenue.
Osceola Road, yeah.
Osceola Road. Was it a professional hit, or did you just happen upon this snake?
Well, I just happened upon it. It was a green snake, and I thought it was a vine. Of course, I'm a little kid, and I said, wow, and I pick it up, and of course, you're not supposed to do that unless you know what you're doing. So my mom decided, let's have a little bit of education. Since you like these animals, let's take you back here. Let's get some books. Let's go to the library. And I learned about them at a very young age. And I used to breed and sell snakes. I don't do that anymore because I don't have the time. But yeah, it's an amazing thing to do, to know what you like to do, love what you like to do, and do what you like to do.
And you've been doing it how long now?
Since 1993 is when I started the business. I was breeder and selling snakes since probably 1988.
And you said Camp Lejeune, and I had a gentleman on, an ex-Marine, a retired Marine, a Sergeant Major, Houle, I think, Houle, and we were talking about Toys for Tots, and he was talking about Camp Lejeune, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Is that the same spot?
Yes, sir, Jacksonville, North Carolina. I don't remember, of course. I was a very young person when I was born there, and we lived in Parris Island too, which is south of, in South Carolina. But yeah, my mom and my dad separated when I was 2.5, and my mother brought me here to Myrtle Beach when I was about 2.5, and I've been here basically ever since. I lived in Virginia for a few years, but I had to come back here. This is my home.
How do you catch a bat?
Well, you try not to catch bats. I have. There's several different species of bats, and what we try to do with bats is what we call an exclusion. We don't want to handle them or tamper with them in any way. So we just basically allow them to leave their place, excuse me, and then come back. Not come back, by hanging a certain type of netting or material that won't allow them back in. So basically, we're just shooing them out and not letting them back in. I have had to catch the solitary bats, not the bats that are in groups. And basically, I just put on a pair of leather gloves and grab them and put them in a bag and take them down the road and throw them up in the air and they fly away.
Okay, right nearby here, in the second tallest building, it looks like in Myrtle Beach, there were bats in there, Belfry, or whatever, wherever they were. Talk about the bats.
Well, they had some bats underneath their flashing, and that was pretty simple. We just flushed them out with a little bit of ammonium hydroxide. They also have some bats living in the cracks of their actual parking garage, and I recommended that they leave them there because they're in no way in any harm to any people, and they are such an important animal to the environment. And so they left them there.
Okay. Talk about the importance of bats other than Bruce Wade. I know why he's important to the environment, but what about these garden variety bats? What is their import here?
Well,
import?
Well, their importance. They're one of these animals that can basically control insect population. One bat can eat anywhere from 1 to 3, even more times their weight in body. In body weight every night. So if you take 2-ounce bat, a bat that weighs 2 ounces, and you multiply that by 2, you're going to have 4 ounces of mosquitoes. And imagine how many mosquitoes that is. I mean, not only to eat mosquitoes, but they eat beetles and moths and all that stuff. But there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of bats in our area. I've removed one place in Marion, actually. They had probably about 25,000 bats in the particular building. We had to remove 8,000 pounds of feces. So, I mean, it was just an amazing job. But we, of course, allowed the bats to go somewhere else, because you can't kill bats. It's against the law. They are a protected species, and we, as human beings, would be in very bad shape if we didn't have them.
How do you get them to go somewhere else? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I let them figure out where they're going to go. My job is to secure the place where they are. In other words, allow them to leave, and then they will go find somewhere else. And believe it or not, bats have several homes. I have done jobs before where I went and there would be a couple hundred bats in the building that particular night, and the next night the bats didn't come back. And that would be because they're migratory in some areas. They have different homes and places that they will go. And believe it or not, I guarantee you 1 out of 10 homes or 1 out of 10 buildings around here have either one or several bats in them.
I thought you were giving them a choice. Okay, you can go here, you can go there, but you got to leave here.
That's basically what I'm doing. You got to get out. I got to get up. I got to clean up your mess. You go on and move somewhere else, and hopefully wherever you move, they'll call me and I'll come to that house and get them out of there.
My daughter had a pet python for a while, only about 2.5 feet long. It was a nice, and it would spend the whole time in her room working the edges of the room, the corners. And I heard someplace that snakes will only grow, I guess most animals will only grow to fill just a certain amount of space in their environment. They won't grow any larger is any of this making sense?
Well, it does, but that's not true. I mean, in some circumstances, yes, that's true. But with animals such as pythons and snakes, no, they will grow and they will outgrow their environment. Every one of them, every snake species they have a limit to their length. Certain pythons will get so large, and certain snakes will get so large. But if you put a python in a 10-gallon aquarium, eventually he's going to break that aquarium. So yeah, it's not true.
That was a snake, first snake I ever touched. The first one, when I had my program in New York City, I had LaToya Jackson on, and she had done a Playboy spread, and she had a couple of boas with her. So I got to touch my first snake. She had World Trade Center Windows of the World is where the press conference was, and so that was the first snake I ever touched. And when I was hanging out with my daughter's snake, Baby, its name was, I would lay on the bed and it would crawl into my T-shirt and then come out through the neck, and it was just the most amazing, nothing slimy there. It was just an amazing experience, and I thought a great animal.
Well, yeah, they make very good pets for people who are responsible enough to take care of them. If you probably heard in Florida, they're having some issues with very large pythons that have been released, and what'll happen is somebody says, wow, that's a beautiful snake. I love snakes. I want to try to own one. And they'll buy a Burmese python, and then within a year and a half, 2 years, that 12-inch, 16, 18-inch snake becomes 10, 12 feet long. And they become weary and scared of it. The more you handle the snake, the more docile it's going to be, but it is still a snake. Snakes you have to be responsible and knowledgeable of this animal. So if you're going to buy a big snake, you want to know what your outcome is going to be 10 years from now. They can become 20 feet long and several hundred pounds, which can easily kill a human being. I've known people who've had big, long Burmese pythons that were just sweet, wonderful animals. I've also known people who've had ball pythons that were just completely ravenous creatures that would rip your leg off, and strangle you and swallow you. So
cranky.
Cranky.
Which reminds me of Steve Irwin. I have a question for you after cranky, and all that. But what I noticed with my daughter's snake on the underside, on the underbelly, it had two small foot-like appendages.
Right.
Are those feet at one time I'm looking at, or?
Yes, all snakes basically evolved from lizards. As a planet, we've had several different ice ages, is what they would call them, cooling of the Earth. And one theory is that the snakes, the lizards, in order to, protect themselves from the cold, moved underground. And in doing so, they lost the need for their legs. These little hooks that you see there are and were legs at one time. But they also lost the ability to hear. Snakes have no hearing. They have no ears. And they have no need to close their eyes. So they have no eyelids. So after several years of evolution, the lizards went on their own way and the snakes became snakes, and then of course you have several species. And one other interesting thing too, the reason why a rattlesnake has its rattle is because years and years ago, we used to have buffalo and bison and even camel, in the North American continent. And they would travel in great herds, and they would step on snakes and lizards and stuff like that. Snakes are lie-in-waiting animals, so meaning they will lay in wait for their food to come to them. And when they were being stepped on by these animals, they had to figure out ways to stop that. So they would start to shake their tail, and they would shake their tail in leaf litter. And over a period of time, evolution would grow keratin on the end of their tail, which eventually became the rattle, to warn ungulates, these big, large animals traveling across big fields, not step on me, don't tread on me, basically, like the flag says.
I've had many arguments with many ministers across the years and talking about evolution and that sort of thing. And to me, evolution, and I don't mean to become a religious, turn this religious, but I do want to make a point that evolution could be proof of a higher power, because, how do they? You're proving a point.
Well, they've evolved for that.
Yeah, but they've evolved to something that. Did they sit around talking, what are we going to do about this thing? It's something that happened naturally.
Exactly.
So Mother Nature is really runs the show, would you say?
I would say exactly. Who's to say to God what is one day, or 1 year, or 1 million years? No one knows that. You can read all you want to in any book written in Scripture, but who knows? It's obvious and proof that there was dinosaurs here at one time. We know that. We have evidence of that. I'm a very religious person. I believe in God, but I'm not going to question God, and say, why is there dinosaurs here? He had to put them here for a reason. Just like the rattlesnake had to have that rattle to keep from being stepped on.
Right. So evolution can be a proof of something.
A proof of something, absolutely. To me, it's proof of God. Absolutely.
That kind of flies in the face. Sunday school is almost over here, by the way, but that kind of flies in the face of saying, no, it can't be.
Well, especially here in the South. Here in the South, where I've grown up all my life. Like I said, it's to me, it's obvious that there was some type of growth in the races and species of this world. Especially plants. Plants are proof of that too.
I hope we don't get in trouble for this, folks. Okay, let's move on. By the way, you're listening to Horry County Community Calendar. I'm your host and fellow Horry County and Herb Mosman. We're with Russell Cavender, Snake Chaser, and we're going to get got a great website, by the way, so a very interesting website, and then we'll get your phone number. Why don't you give a phone number now, and then we'll continue. I want to talk about Crikey.
Okay, it's 843-902-5706. And please, if I don't answer, leave a message. I get a lot of calls. A lot of people want to ask me questions, and I'm always happy to answer questions.
Okay, give that number again.
843-902-5706.
And we're going to give that before we sign off. And also your website, again, a great website.
It's thesnakechaser.com, or The Snake Chaser, just like the name of the business.
Yeah. And we are good. You're the first guest in a while that hasn't done the www, because it's not necessary anymore. Again, the SnakeChaser.com. The Snake Chaser, of course, one word. Okay, Steve Irwin, we lost Steve Irwin a couple of years ago, the crocodile hunter. And the reason why I'm reminded of this, I was speaking to a friend of mine at Communication yesterday, Alexander. Hey, Alexander, there's a shout out for you. He was saying, kind of like the crocodile hunter and all that. And it got me thinking about the stingray that did him in. Should he have pulled that barb out, or should he have come to the surface? What What's the story on that? Do you know?
Well, yeah, I've read that, and it's always a wise idea to leave whatever in any object that's entered your body in your body and let a doctor take it out, because there's arteries, there's vessels, there's blood vessels, there's tissue damage.
Passed back and forth. I said, well, who is the? You're never traveling fast, so you're not chasing anything. But tell us who you are, Russell.
Well, speaking of the van, I have 257,000 miles on this thing in about 7 years. So yes, I do get around. But I am the snake chaser, and it's my passion to help people with animals, especially snakes and alligators. Those are my favorite. But I'll catch anything from moles to honeybees, squirrels. I've got a flying squirrel in the back of the truck. You name it, I pretty much can solve any problem you have.
How did you come to this snake chaser? Is it something you, as a child, just said, I want to do this? I mean, it's got to be something natural to you. I mean, it's an unusual occupation. And where are you from, anyway, as well?
Well, I'm from here, Myrtle Beach. I wasn't born here. I was born in Campbell's Gym. My father was in the Marine Corps. But yeah, I've been here all my life, and I caught my first snake right over off 10th Avenue, right where the WRNN radio station is, as a matter of fact. It's probably about 4 years old. It was a green snake, and ever since I can remember, I've always had a passion for animals of some kind or another. Snakes being the most prevalent. I caught my first rattlesnake batch cutting grass, painting, cleaning pools, and started this as a part-time job, and now it's completely full-time, and I love it.
So you caught your first snake right on 10th Avenue, Joe White Avenue.
Osceola Road, yeah.
Osceola Road. Was it a professional hit, or did you just happen upon this snake?
Well, I just happened upon it. It was a green snake, and I thought it was a vine. And of course, I'm a little kid, and I said, wow, and I pick it up, and of course, you're not supposed to do that unless you know what you're doing. So my mom decided, let's have a little bit of education. Since you like these animals, let's take you back here, let's get some books, let's go to the library. And in the same area there, about 7.5, 8 years old. So I've always had a passion. My mother was an animal control officer. My father was an avid, trapper and hunter. They were separated, so I lived in with two different places. But I just always wanted to do something with animals, and everyone told me I had a knack with them. I mean, I have a couple of pet deer that I've raised or orphaned. So what I did, I just decided one day, I'm tired of working for other people. I know I can do something. I came up with this idea. I spent a lot of time doing odds and ends, other jobs.
Welcome to Horry County Community Calendar. I'm your host and fellow Horry County and Herb Malsman. We are sitting on Beach Place on North Ocean Boulevard. It has been raining all day. The day is Wednesday, December 2nd. 2009. I was hoping for some rain on the roof to give you an idea, but it could happen because there was a deluge or a downpour just a few months ago. We are sitting with Russell Cavender, and Russell Cavender is better known, I guess, by van and by a reputation as the Snake Chaser. And I've seen your van come